My question is to the Prime Minister and asks, did he tell Cameron Slater that he recognised the mother of a car crash victim, a young man described by Mr Slater as a feral, from his Pike River meetings?
Mr. Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, yes, as I stated publicly when this matter came up during the election campaign, I would note that I did not use the language paraphrased in Mr Slater's stolen emails.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Dr Russell-Norman.
Was Cameron Slater correct to tell TVNZ that the Prime Minister texted Mr Slater to say that the Prime Minister recognised the mother of the dead car crash victim, Judd Hall, as being the same person he'd encountered at Pike River meetings?
Right Honourable
Mr
Prime
Speaker, I don't believe that to be correct. I believe the only conversation I had with him in my capacity as leader of the National Party, but was one on telephone.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Dr Russell-Norman.
Why did the Prime Minister text Mr Slater to say that he recognised the mother of the Greymouth crash victim, Judd Hall, described by Mr Slater as a feral who did the world a favour by dying? Why did the Prime Minister give that information to Mr Slater?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, I don't believe I did. As I said, I had a phone conversation in my capacity as leader of the National Party, and as part of that phone conversation, a particular woman in question was raised, and from memory I said to him I recognised her from Pike River. That was the extent of what I recall it. I don't have a copy of my text messages.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Dr Russell-Norman.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Is this the correct sequence of events? He was notified that WhaleOil had posted an answer phone recording of Mrs Hall on Slater's blog. He listened to the recording, recognised Mrs Hall's voice from the Pike River meetings, then contacted Cameron Slater to tell him he recognised her.
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, no.
Supplementary question,
Supplementary.
Dr Russell-Norman.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Given that he recognised Jo Hall as a mother from Pike River who'd lost a son in a mining tragedy, why didn't he put on his prime ministerial hat and offer his condolences over the death of another son, rather than contact his friend Cameron Slater to gossip about her instead?
Right Honourable Prime
Mr
Minister.
Speaker, I made it quite clear at the time I didn't know the particular details of the story. I just simply said in passing I recognised it.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Dr Russell-Norman.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Will he now admit that he was the Prime Minister when he texted or phoned Cameron Slater to talk about a woman who had lost all 4 of her sons, and will he say sorry to Mrs Hall?
Right Honourable Prime
Mr
Minister.
Speaker, no. I was leader of the National Party, and what I said was I recognised her. For that doesn't deserve an apology, just as the member himself was the leader of the Green Party when he went grovelling up to the .com mansion.
Point of order, Mr Speaker.
Order. 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 This is a point of order. I want to hear it in silence.
Mr Speaker, Standing Order 386 is very clear about the content of replies. It must not include statements of facts unless they're strictly necessary and so forth. The Prime Minister has chosen to introduce things into the reply which are completely unnecessary to the reply.
Order. I ask the member to equally look at Standing Order 380 with regard to supplementary questions. Our questions must be concise and not contain statements of facts, names of persons, unless they are strictly necessary to render the question intelligible and can be authenticated. Arguments, inferences, imputations, epithets, ironical expressions or expressions of opinion. When I consider the content of the question, I don't consider the content of the answer to be out of order. Further supplementary?
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Dr Russell-Norman.
Why didn't the Prime Minister behave like a Prime Minister on hearing that this was the mother of a woman, this was the mother who had lost 4 sons, and actually offer condolences to that woman instead of contacting the attack blogger, Cameron Slater, to offer him information about this woman instead of behaving like a Prime Minister who should have offered condolences?
Mr Speaker,
Right Honourable Prime
members
Minister.
should stop making things up.
Order. 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 Question number 2, Honourable Annette King.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question's to the Prime Minister. Did Cameron Slater provide him with the information that led him to say on February the 12th, 2014 in Parliament regarding the Right Honourable Winston Peters that, quote, I will accept that member's word that he did not discuss untoward things when he went to the .com mansion 3 times?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, no, as I said at the time I can read. I believe the reference came from an item read in the New Zealand Herald on the 7th of February 2014.
Supplementary question, Honourable Annette King.
When he said on the 14th of February at a press conference regarding the specific details of calls he made to Cameron Slater that he would, quote, have to go and look at my files, end quote, were those files ministerial files, or does he hold files regarding his interaction with Cameron Slater in his capacity as a husband?
Mr Speaker.
Order. Right. Order.
I can certainly
Right
confirm...
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, I can certainly confirm I'm not married to him and I don't have any files.
Supplementary question,
supplementary.
Honourable Annette King.
Well, is Cameron Slater correct when he wrote last week that the Prime Minister is always the Prime Minister, or he has double standards? If not, did he explain to Mr Slater when he texts and calls him that he only talks to him as a private citizen?
Mr Speaker,
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Slater's correct about one thing. I'm always the Prime Minister for areas where I have prime ministerial responsibility. I'm also always the leader of the National Party. And Mr Speaker, I'm surprised the member doesn't know that, because Helen Clark used to lecture this House about that difference all the time. But maybe the member doesn't remember that, or maybe this is the reason why Labor's polling so badly, that they're focused on the issues that matter.
That answer won't
That's
help.
right, get stuck in.
Supplementary. Order.
Yes,
Order.
come on, give us an honest answer.
Order. I haven't called the member yet. Supplementary question, the Honourable Annette King.
Well, has he ever called or texted Cameron Slater in his capacity as Prime Minister?
Right Honourable Prime
Mr
Minister.
Speaker, no, I don't believe so.
Wow. Supplementary question, Mr Speaker.
Supplementary question,
We'll try this
Honourable
one, Prime
Annette
Minister.
King.
Did he give instructions to his ministerial colleagues to avoid ministerial responsibility when asked embarrassing questions about contact with Cameron Slater? If not, is he aware that Judith Collins in July this year denied texts, phone calls and correspondence with Mr Slater in her ministerial capacity?
Right Honourable Prime Minister, either of those two
in answer to the
supplementaries
first
can be
part,
asked.
no, and the only embarrassing thing is the way Labor performed in the election campaign.
Well, Prime Minister...
Order. Supplementary question, the Honourable Annette King.
In light of the review that is now underway into Judith Collins and the release of information to Cameron Slater, will she be excused if she uses the Prime Minister's excuse that she was not acting as Minister when she passed on information, but she was a private citizen?
That is an interesting...
Right Honourable Prime
Mr
Minister.
Speaker, that's not what the review is in relation to.
Question.